I'm a GP in Tower Hamlets, and I'm involved in various projects, either at the CCG or at the GP Care Group, thinking about how we connect either patients with GPs and consult digitally to sort of enable patients to access doctors whenever they want, really.
I'm really interested in how we can do things better, but also how we can do better things. So, you know, not just how we improve on what we've been doing in the past, but really to radically rethink if what we are doing is actually the right way, and, you know, how that relates to our populations, how that relates to population health, and how that ultimately relates to what matters to people.
Doing quite a varied amount of things. Involved obviously with QA, quality assurance. I tend to do things that I believe in. I've always done things that I believe in, and bring my sense of positivity in.
So I think the model for improvement is it's quite straightforward to understand. I know that obviously some of the tools, etc., you need to get your head around a bit more, but they aren't trying to use strange language or, you know, fancy terms or anything like that. It is quite everyday terms, and I think that makes it feel more accessible at all levels as well. And I mean, the other thing that I think is just amazing is the fact that, you know, there are QI training for service users and carers as well, which is something great.
It's challenging, I think it's exciting, but it's also quite a lot of information. So it's absorbing lots of different concepts and thinking, how do you put them into practice to improve patient care and staff experience.
It's really full on, and I think one of the reasons is obviously that it is being done on a virtual platform, so it's a very different sensory experience. There's definitely pros and cons about that, and I think the QI team are doing a phenomenal job of, you know, doing this for 80 plus people, but yes, I would say it is quite intense. And I think it's not just obviously the days and the training, but it is also where we are finding ourselves in, and even just the situations that we are working in, from the time where we started the coaching course to where our teams are finding ourselves in at the moment. You know, we're in a different type of wave. There's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of things constantly changing. So to really, you know, try and find the headspace to concentrate on quality improvement and, you know, what that could do, and the potential that hold in a time when there's so much uncertainty, anxiety, you know, lots of change, etc., to deal with. It feels pretty exhausting, to be honest.
About the bonus thinking hats, that's just fascinated me, and I wish, you know, thinking that I wish, you know, in my working life now, that I wish I could go back and the stuff that I've learned. I've also done the leaders program. The stuff that I've learned there and I'm learning now, as well as the, like I said, the standards, is all the psychology that goes behind it and underpins it. Because I could have used all that, you know, in my working life. So yes, I'm absolutely enthralled by the psychology of QI, you know.
It's really hard to deliver this type of content electronically. So I think having the training materials delivered to my house and having the action learning set's been a really good way of combining the theory and the application.
I think just the other thing as well that I think has really encouraged me during this coaching course as well is that, you know, even if we are not doing like a formal QI project, there are so many of the methodologies and tools and even just the thinking around it, which are so applicable to how we do things as well. And if I think, for instance, one of the things that we have been working on with actually initially some support from the QI team in the summer was the Shaping the Future of our community group program. and sort of like constantly trying to go back to what have we learned and what are we trialing, and what are we learning, and really emphasizing that we don't need to have the answers, but what can we trial in order to learn more.
I'm leading the first service user-led QI project within the trust, which we started over a year ago. But unfortunately, it is called Improving Access to the CNHT buildings in central Bedfordshire. Unfortunately, COVID has it has put a stop to it. We are trying to restart it within the remit of COVID. We've had a few data back from one of the sites, and it's been so enthralling because the service managers have never seen that quality of data before. Because the other thing I like about the QI coaching is that we're all there and we're looking at. I'm enthusiastic about, and I always have been, about looking at things from the top down and also the bottom up. The 360 approach. It's something I learned in the 90s in one of my jobs in the corporate world, and to me, it's when you see things from the bottom up, it opens your eyes on a different level. No, you've got to sit down and listen, and to then ascertain whether or not QI is the best way to approach it. To me, that is the first thing, even before looking at the, if, therefore, then, got to, sit down and listen. That's always been my approach. You've got to listen. We've got to listen before you then start sharing ideas.
We'll definitely talk it through them a little bit and see what their thoughts are, etc. And then my first port of call would probably be for them to speak to Marco, who is our improvement advisor for Newham. So that would sort of be the first point, is actually to speak to him to get a bit of advice from him and see what he feels as well. And I would definitely encourage someone to if we feel that there's definitely some sort of quality issue to address, or that there is the grounds for a project and that we don't already know quite clearly what the answers are, that I would definitely support them in order to try and get the project started.
So I suppose that's the perfect problem for a QI project, where you don't know the answer and it's a complex problem. So understanding a bit more about the background, I think, would be the place to start, and thinking about what are the drivers that are leading to the problem, and coming up with that aim statement.
And I think the other thing that it just really emphasized to me as well, but I would always say to someone, if they want to introduce a change, or they want to think about a project, or they want to think about doing something differently, I always come back to, how would you know that the change is an improvement, which obviously again then links to the model for improvement, because I always I really believe that you need to think about, whenever you try and implement some changes, what is the bigger ripple effect, and what is the impact, and especially what the impact is beyond what you can immediately see and what you can immediately think you are influencing.